Playing video games has been such a huge part of my life, of my childhood, of my adolescence, that leaving them behind, slowly falling out of love with them, has been an extremely painful process. Until just a few years ago, I would proudly say things like, "I'll probably keep playing until I'm old, why would I ever stop?" As I was so sure this passion would never ever leave me. But things are changing, and playing is no longer the same. After an initial phase where I refused to accept this possibility, where I kept asking myself how I could enjoy video games more, I now feel more inclined to accept that maybe they will slowly fade away. Maybe because I don't need them anymore, or maybe because I'm not the same person anymore, maybe because their role in my life has simply run its course. And if it were just a bittersweet, melancholic goodbye to something we once loved, something that now needs to be let go, it would be easier. But for me, video games are a mental place that is as full of comfort and fascination as it is of fear and judgment. Fear that spending so much of my life playing has shaped who I am in a negative way. Fear that many of my personality flaws come from a period of self-imposed isolation, where games were my only companion. Judgment, because I could have been more, better, straighter, richer, more attractive, more social, more charismatic. I could have been generically more. And I recognize that the vagueness of this judgment destroys the very foundations it stands on. And yet, it's a thought I often wrestle with, and one that is very hard to let go of. It's also tied to the idea that more often than not, instead of appreciating video games from an artistic point of view, I mostly enjoy their purely dopaminergic side, coming out of the experience feeling barely enriched. That's also why I'm so fascinated by people like Jacob Geller or Joseph Anderson or Whitelight and many others critics or long-form critics on YouTube, because they at least seem to manage to get so much out of their gaming experiences, and because they live gaming as something far more meaningful than just a dopamine hit. And unfortunately, I've realized that for me, video games are almost only that. I say this with sadness, but also with a certain sense of acceptance. This very channel was born from an attempt to pull something human and therefore artistic out of my way of playing. But it always feels a bit like effort, a bit like forcing something, and in the end the most interesting thing to talk about remains the psychological side of my experience, which is fascinating in its own way and full of depth, but I wonder how much longer it can survive given this distancing process that I'm going through. So, a middle path. Maybe the one I've already been walking for the past 3 or 4 years, making peace with the fact that gaming doesn't satisfy me like it used to, and making peace with the child version of myself who played so much, and making peace with the judging version of myself that wishes I were more. And in the meantime, I try to find other ways to fill my free time. Or maybe I don't, because maybe for now my free time is about contemplation, about realizing how much emptiness is left behind when you lose a piece of yourself, and about how hard it is to leave behind something that defined you for so long. It's also the path of balance, of refusing to hand the crown of power to either of the two tyrants sitting at opposite ends of this rope, completely eliminating video games because they are harmful, or forcing myself to enjoy them because they've always been a part of me. And so, the middle path, this constant juggling, floating on a raft in the middle of the ocean, afraid of falling on either side, but then climbing back up over and over again. Because in the end, in moments of doubt, maybe the only truly safe place to take shelter in is uncertainty.